That's what we need.
Here we
Here we
go.
go.
Here we don't go, boys. I think we're live now. Should be good to go as people trickle their way in here. Once again, blessed to be joined by two people I trust their opinions and their insights. Like I said, the last time we were live 2 weeks ago, these guys challenged me to the fullest, and I'm very, very pleased to be joined by the caveman himself, none other than your guy, Nix, our guy, Nix. Appreciate you being here, man. And of course, the draft guru, as everybody will know here sooner rather than later, Ben Larimore. Boys, I guess we're 2 days in now to the new league year, and it's been a roller coaster of acquisitions and transactions, right? A lot of credit card swiping, a lot of new faces in the building. Shout out to my guy Steve. This has been a blast. How are we feeling right now? Obvious sarcasm right there, y'all. Two days in. What's the scoop?
That roller coaster is not one of these. It's one of maybe we still on that tick 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 tick. We're going up the hill. How you feeling, Nick?
One of these days, man. One of these days.
I'm feeling all in tonight, guys. That's where I'm at. I'm feeling all in. Feeling all in on this show and all in on this Cowboys talk. I'm all in. That's where I'm feeling all in.
All right. I think Cowboys Nation's feeling all in their feelings over this free agency period and how it started, man. Very, very slow. Very slow. But here we are. A few pieces coming in now. I'm sure we'll get to that. And we'll see.
We can actually start there if you guys want to. So unless today's been my daughter's birthday, she turned 2 today. So I've been
birthday. My little one's 8 tomorrow.
There you go. Well, happy early birthday to your little one as well, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Today, dude. Kids are incredible, man. It was the best day ever. We woke up this morning. We went to Cheeky Monkeys. It's like this indoor adventure park for kids. Went there, had lunch at Chick-fil-A, came home, played outside a little bit. She got a new park for her birthday. Took a nap, woke up, went to Chuck E. Cheese, played around at Chuck E. Cheese for a few hours. Now we're back here, and she's hopefully sleeping now at this point. So all that to say this, though, if anything has transpired in the last probably 3 or 4 hours or so, there's a good chance I don't know about it. So you guys can please not only fill in our viewers here who are watching live or be watching on playback, but you'd be filling me in the process as well. The last thing that I had seen on the day, the latest transaction in the free agency world was CJ Goodwin, the special teams ace. Are we good
where
there?
We're at as far as I know, we got CJ Goodwin back in the building. Excellent gunner on special teams, just excellent cover guy, special teams in general. That whole phase of the Cowboys team really took a giant step back, in my opinion, as someone who evaluates special teams. Like, it was very noticeable without him.
Once he went down, you mean?
Yeah, once he went down with injury. So definitely glad to have him back. And then the value, value signing of Jordan Lewis, man, a guy who's really stepped up, slot cornerback, a position that, in my opinion, is becoming more and more valuable in today's NFL. And they got him back for under $3 million on a 1-year deal. We got those two. What else we got, Nix?
When you get to Jordan Lewis,
go for it.
Yeah,
that's exactly where I wanted to go.
You good? Okay,
please.
Yeah. Jordan Lewis, man. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Of what they do gives you keys to where they're going. Right. And,
yes,
the big thing was there's Gilmore and Jordan Lewis. But what did Mike Zimmer look at when he saw Deron Bland? Is he a slot? Is he an outside guy? Right. Because that kind of dictates who's coming back, because Jordan Lewis is going to start for another team. Gilmore will be able to start for another team. They made the call to go with Lewis. That tells me that they plan on having Bland outside. Now, do they want to bring Gilmore back? The word is they would like to, but is he going to be willing to take a reduced role? It's kind of what it looks like. So, again, the big key here is you have a starter. Ben, you talk about a lot. It's 70% in that 4-2-5, that nickel. Your slot corner is basically a starter in this league, and you've secured that for another year. That's done. You're set at your starting 3, right? You got Diggs coming back from the injury. You have Lewis in the slot. You have Bland on the outside. So you're set there. Do you need some depth there? Absolutely, you need some depth. We want to see what Eric Stock's going to do and stuff like that. But you have your starter solidified now with that move.
I want to ask you guys a question real quick, kind of a follow-up question on that point. So we had a fantastic discussion on, as far as you remember the whole plane analogy that we talked about with Jordan Lewis and
Sure.
Gilmore. You guys had me going back and forth a little bit there. So I was pretty split. So now we know for sure we've got Jordan Lewis back. We're technically covered as far as starters are concerned, right? If you assume a clean bill of health for Trayvon Diggs. If let's just put yourself in the shoes of any team builder, any GM. Like say you're Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones or Will McClay right now. Are you more inclined to? I mean, understanding already the importance of Stephon Gilmore, right? You want that veteran presence, somebody that has been in those multiple, the coverage schemes and sets, right? Been talked about so eloquently last time. That's obviously important, but beyond that. Would it behoove you as a GM right now to say, all right, let's get Gilly back here. He's not going to cost us too much more than maybe we would want to pay him, but let's get him in here. A, because we know depth is important, but B, it lets Trayvon Diggs sort of, get his feet under him a little bit and not have to rush and just be, trying to do things too quickly in the recovery process. Where are you guys at on that thought process specifically?
Ben, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, I love the idea of bringing them both back. I mean, you hit on it, Trayvon Diggs. Look, man, I'm okay with you not coming out playing every snap day one, week one,
right,
for this team. I mean, you go back to what you had last year to begin the season, work him back in at his own pace if necessary. If someone goes down, you're not sitting there hoping that one of these other guys are more ready to contribute at a starting level, like a Nashawn Wright or an Eric Scott, guys that you've been kind of pulling along and you're hoping for. So, I mean, I think it really just gives you a lot of versatility, specifically with Bland, inside, outside, things along that nature. If you were to bring Gilmore back still, we, like you said, have already spoken about what that means on the back end with the different coverages and someone who's played in so many different coverage looks under someone like a Bill Belichick, right? So, I mean, for me, I think it would be a smart signing. I don't think they necessarily have to do it. I mean, they do technically have their 3 now. You can look in the draft if you want to. I mean, when you're thinking about the cornerback position long term, hey, there's a discussion to be had there as well. As far as that slot or outside, that versatility question kind of still remains with DaRon Bland, if you can even afford to re-sign him with the level that he's playing at, having already given Trayvon Diggs his extension. So a lot to go into that there. I like the idea though. I'm still Team Gidley over here. Knicks?
Yeah, I just think it's a sell. Look, obviously Gilmore's long in the tooth. We understand that. We understand when we got him last year. He's expressed wanting to come back to Dallas, but what's the role going to be? And that's what you kind of got to sell him on, is what I would believe. Hey, are they going to say, hey, man, come back? Look, we're able to slow play, Diggs back into this roster, but understand the healthier he gets, it might decrease more of your time on the field. And is that a role that he's willing to take? Right. The money's going to be the money. We understand with the Cowboys and how they're spending money right now. To this point, this juncture, Gilmore, I'm thinking hasn't gotten any calls. So it just depends on what he wants to do. Does he want to go out here and be able to be a full-time guy still for another organization? Or is he willing to buy into the plan B here, be that veteran in the room, and take less reps? And that's just really what it kind of boils down to. I think the Cowboys want him here. He wants to be here. Can they settle on a role that he's comfortable with coming back for next season and understand it's probably going to be a diminished role when it comes to reps?
Do you think is there a chance that the shoulder issue, his recovery process, has been maybe the difference for the Cowboys teetering, Jordan Lewis in their favor as opposed to Gilly? Like, have you heard anything about his health right now? Like where he's at in his recovery with the shoulder surgery? Is that a factor at all in your mind, or you think that's just kind of a wash?
I think he's probably ready to go more so than Diggs is. As we're saying, Diggs is going to hit camp and be ready. He won't be on the PUP list. I believe Gilly be more ready to go the day one of camp than he will.
I do too.
I mean, Diggs. Yeah. So I'm not concerned. I'm not overly concerned about the shoulder though. He was able to play the next week. Obviously, they did some different things, but I think it'll be okay.
Go ahead,
when you start talking about these older, longer in the tooth guys, I think some of that recovery process maybe a little bit banged up from previous years in one way or another is more common than not. If they do re-sign him, it is going to be another quote unquote value signing. So I think that's just part of the deal at that point.
Does anybody have an update? So I said, obviously I was preoccupied today with daughter's birthday stuff. What's the official? I can actually pull it up, but while I'm asking this question, somebody let me know off top if they know the current cap situation. Are we in the how much green do we have to play with after the last one or two transactions that we're looking at?
Well, I mean, they've agreed to terms. They haven't inked the deal. So again, the Cowboys said at 2.2, but if you do a little bit of simple math, when you look at the C, like the deals that they're about to do, they got to create some money. So I would imagine, I would say probably pretty early tomorrow. I think we'll see either the Diggs restructure, something along those lines, to free up some money to get these deals actually inked. They've agreed on the deals. They're not hard inked yet because they don't have the money to ink them yet, is where they're at.
So we're still hanging out at 2.2.
So there has to be a correlated move.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, cool. 10-4. All right. So I guess let's break the ice here too. Where were we at? Because I think where I've been at has been well documented, right? Trying to read between the tea leaves and take their word for actual, the name value of the things that they were saying, right? And maybe giving them more benefit of the doubt, they as in the front office, than they deserved from some of the things that, breaking trends from a year ago with, trading draft capital for veteran help, right? We've talked about that, letting Mike McCarthy fire Kellen Moore, bring all his boys up in there. And a couple other things, like firing Zeke and restructuring Tyron, like sort of separating themselves from, I say firing Zeke, cutting Zeke, you know what I meant.
Right.
Separating themselves from, I guess, like the sentimental value, right? That they didn't get it. I don't think they got enough credit for that last year. I thought that was kind of a nice changing of the guard for me. So all that to say, I was one of the, kind of in that prove it mode. Like I wanted to believe that they were actually going to do things differently in free agency as far as their approach, in the first wave and such. Swiping that credit card, right? I wanted to believe. I wasn't sure. I was kind of in that prove it mode. But I guess, it's easy to say now as we have hindsight. It's always 2020. But where were you at prior to Monday, day one, on March 11th of the legal tampering window? Were you excited? Were you just like, nah, I know exactly what's coming? Do you think that they did it wrong? Where do we go from here? Kind of is, the whole purpose of the title, the thumbnail, all that stuff. Let's start the conversation there before we get any further.
Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing: is that I'll kind of set the line here before I really go into it, and simply, this is a very talented roster, right? I mean, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
It's a very talented roster, and your major talent, is locked up for the most part. I know there's some situations with Lamb and Dak, but outside of that, they're locked up, right? So let's start the baseline there. I'm not worried about the all-in and how that was talked about the Senior Bowl, and that kind of took a life of its own anyways. But here's where I landed, and here's where I ultimately think organizationally they failed. And this is where I stand on it. It's simply this. It was never about going and spending all the money in the world. It was never that. And they were never going to do that. They were never going to go do that. So, spending $15 million for Saquon Barkley, that wasn't in their bag. I think, if you're realistic, I think people understand that. But some fans, all in, they think it's about to be go time and swipe that card and whatnot. But what I looked at was, and they admitted it. I mean, they're not oblivious. They said, hey, we need to fix the run game and fix the run defense, right? That's what they talked about. Yeah. And, from that stretch before it got to there, the biggest thing that I talked about from my standpoint was spend the money on defense, draft your offense. That's probably where you need to be at. Now that you can make some additions
that's
via
precisely
free agency.
Where I was. Yes.
Yeah. Not that you can make some additions on the offense, but the majority of the money that you are going to spend be on the defensive side. And,
Did we lose him?
He hit us with the ultimate pause there.
I was about to say that was some extra suspense right there. He'll come back. He'll come back.
Well, in the meantime, while we're getting him back here, big shout out to we got Brad, Ratio, Savage, Fair, Star. We are all you guys hanging out in the chat. We appreciate you rocking with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for being in here. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, so like I said,
questions. Sorry, we'll get to your questions that y'all are putting in the chat a little bit later on. Go ahead, Nick. My bad.
Yeah. I don't know why I cut out there. Sorry, guys. But anyways, it was never about going to spending 3 years, $30+ million for a linebacker or anything like that. But the William Gates of the world, 1 year up to $5 million. It's a good move. Going to get a defensive tackle to upgrade your defensive tackle position, those kind of things, and they just haven't done them. It's great that you got. Look, tip the cap, getting Jordan Lewis back, and on the deal you got him back for. It's an excellent move.
That's a good get.
It's a good get. You flipped Kendricks almost like on college signing day. You flipped the guy. I think it makes sense. He knows the defense. He's 32. You're going to get a draft pick. Sure. Makes sense. Could you go get another guy? Probably. But again, it makes sense. But what else have you done? Okay, we kind of understand now at the running back position, they're going to add a guy. They've let the market completely kind of dry up for the most part. But the guy they're adding is going to be supplements to whoever they draft, which is okay. That's part of the plan. Hey, draft your offense.
Yep.
Right. Draft the offense. That's okay. Obviously, the in-between of that is I think everybody took for granted that Tyron Smith's coming back. He's not going anywhere. And then that was a little bit of a culture shock for a lot of people, of the organization and the fan base as well. So there's that. But again, defensively, understanding you're bringing in Zimmer, what he likes to do defensively from a body standpoint and whatnot, and you literally have, quote-unquote, damn near zero linebackers in the room. Yeah, it's an operational failure what they've done when it comes to fixing the run defense with a new defensive coordinator here. It almost felt like Zimmer finally at the end of day 3 is like, hey, guys, y'all got me over here to do some things. Y'all got to go get me somebody. Like, let's stop playing around here a little bit. Almost like he had to get grumpy going back to his press conference. Maybe Zimmer got a little grumpy. He's like, okay. We'll go over here and take care of Kendricks and get that done. But, yeah, no, operational failure for a team that's 12-5, 3 straight years, not able to get over the hump when it comes to the playoffs. And this is the time of the year where the front office does the most work to put their fingerprints on the 24 season. You're holding everybody else's feet to the flame. Hey, coaching for your job, 1-year deals, talk about the players, all that. You got to hold yourself to the flame too. And what are you going to be able to do to help this team get over the hump as well? Again, it's not about going to spend hundreds of millions and winning free agency, but how are you team building one-on-one and going out here and doing things that help this team take the next step? And so far, I think it's an operational failure. Are there guys out here that can still get to help this team? Absolutely. But until they do it, you literally had Stephen Jones say today, well, come back whenever cuts happen and we'll let you know. So you're already trying to protect your comp picks. That's what he's saying. When cuts happen, we'll add some more pieces, and that's going to protect those comp picks we got right now. And that's the stuff that
they're up to 3 projected right now. 3.
That part. Yeah. 2 5ths and a 6 right now. So, but that's not what people want to hear about. And that's understandable where the team has been at over the past 3 years.
Well, because
you're jelly.
Because comp picks don't help you in the upcoming year.
That part. That's nature. Absolutely.
So, and understandable frustration and rightfully so. But so I just wanted to make clear kind of where I was as far as the credit card is concerned, man. The thing is, we know how difficult it is. Like, most teams are going to feel really good if they can find 2 starters in any given draft, like legit starters, not just out of necessity, but because like they've actually earned the starting role. If you can get 2 out of your 6 or 7, that's solid work from the evaluation process, both scouting departments, college and pro. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. Some teams are you can get 4 or 5 out of a draft class if you really do it right and really get lucky. So the reason for me was it wasn't necessarily about spending so much money just to do it, just to say you're all in and to be different. It was because, okay, you can't help your defensive coordinator that's on a 1-year contract because there's so many holes to fill. Like, you don't have a choice but to go out and be a little bit more active in free agency, right? We talked about it, guys. There's one active defensive tackle, like a true one-tech body type on the roster currently. So I was saying, okay, let's re-sign Jonathan Hankins, but outside of him, I still want one more body like that. Somebody that fits the Zimmer prototype, right? Look at
swept under the rug, and I don't mean to cut you off there, but swept under the rug signing that they did bring back was Carl Davis on the practice squad. And who? Carl Davis, 6'5", 335, fits the mold of what you're talking about there.
I get it. He does, but he was on the streets a year ago. That's the whole thing, right? Like, we'll see. Do you expect them
top end talent? I hear you.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, that's where my head was. I'm like, I've got one, outside of Mozzie Smith. You want to include Carl Davis? I still don't really know what to expect from that situation. So you can tell me you got two. Then I still think you need one more. So Jonathan Hankins makes a lot of sense if you just want to stick to the familiarity. DJ Reader was my dude as far as run defense goes up front, but that was probably pipe dream from the jump, which
he was cheap too. He was cheap.
Oh man.
I'm saying.
Oh man.
The quad maybe gave him a little bit of an extra discount, but and then on top of that, right? Everybody's pounding the table for DeMarvion Overshown, and I mean, you can see the other corner of my room over here. I also cover that team as well. InsideTexas.com, by the way, we're running a promo. If you have $1 in your pocket, you can become an Inside Texas subscriber for all my, dual Cowboys and Longhorns fans on here. $1 gets you basically one subscription for an entire month. For an entire month, you get to sample it, cut it if you don't like us. But I promise you, it's the most comprehensive coverage of Texas Longhorns football. Check us out over there. But back to the DeMarvion Overshown point, man. He was also a converted safety. I feel like a lot of Cowboys fans are missing that. Right. He was recruited to Texas as a safety. And, he ended up becoming a playmaker, and he has his own specific set of skills that he can deploy. But so the point is, he's still kind of finding his feet at the linebacker position anyway. He's still going to be a rookie, and he's still recovering from an ACL injury. That's not a guy that you just go in on, lead into the new calendar year of the NFL season banking on to be a guy for you. So I applaud the move to go and get Eric Kendricks. It seemed like, still that's like a bare minimum thing for me, but still, like I said, a step in the right direction, something that I used Ben's point with Stephon Gilmore to kind of tie in my thoughts on getting Eric Kendricks right on YouTube last week. We dropped that as well. And that was great work on your behalf too, Ben. So thank you for we tag team that one, but yeah, so all that to say, I thought that I wasn't necessarily pounding the table for go do something different just to be different. But, hey, it doesn't matter who your defensive coordinator is if you don't give him the freedom to show that you're also willing to help him out as far as the personnel is concerned, just depth in general, right? So that's kind of where I was. But, hey, they're sticking to their standard operating procedures, and we have to live with it. So here we are.
That for me is why I've had the unpopular opinion. And no fair, I wasn't pumping up Carl Davis. I was just saying that they brought him back, and he is a big physical guy, bigger than most.
Yep.
That is what Zimmer is looking for. That's all I'm saying. I'm not pumping him up.
Yeah,
you got to prove it. But no, what for me, my unpopular opinion is that when you talk about the complete scheme overhaul that we're looking at from DQ, who is stuck in his ways with the underlooks and live and die by the cover ones and cover threes, Zimmer does not do that. He is multiple. He is fluid. He's going to hit you with his specific packages. The Duracell, as me and Nick's kind of like to go back and forth on that AA. He's going to hit you with, obviously, your nickel, all that good stuff. But on the back end, the cover 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 6s, he's going to do it all, man. He's going to hit you with even and odd man fronts. That is going to acquire a different skill set out of your personnel compared to what they built under the Dan Quinn regime, right? So
precisely,
my opinion is that it's not going to be instant transition. It's just not. In my opinion, you're lucky if that defense is firing on all cylinders by playoff time, and that's with a healthy roster. So my expectations year one are lower from an overall performance standpoint. What I'm looking for year one out of Zimmer is I'm looking for those game plans to be on point. I'm looking for the adjustments to be on point. I'm looking for those situational tendencies to be on point. And I'm looking for him to match personnel, be fluid, be multiple, all of those things. That's more important for me year one. Now, I understand, well, what about the player acquisition? It's a good point. That's a tough thing to accomplish in one offseason. And there goes the other point. Well, you have to make some moves to accommodate it, right?
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's definitely tough. You're not getting players that fit the damn scheme.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough to do in one offseason, yes, but it's impossible to do in one draft.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And that's the thing that I want to make clear. Like, you just made a great point. You said that, the new defense, it's not just, okay, pick it up and in one training camp and we're ready to roll week one. Right. So that was more of the reason. That's something that you just reminded me of. One of the things that I was trying to hammer home is that the more veteran guys that you get on that side of the ball, the better, because this is a new scheme. You don't want to have the acclimation period happening for first-year guys and second-year guys like Damone Clark and DeMarvion Overshown on top of trying to learn a new scheme. Right. So that's why I was saying, dude, give me all the veteran help that we can get on that side of the ball, linebacker and DT, and let's sort of shrink that learning curve a little bit. But
absolutely, man. And that's why I think the Kendrick signing, the fact that he was on board with San Francisco, quick phone call or two, boom, he's coming here to Dallas. Look, man,
pretty cool. Yeah.
Him as a player this year, he's not going to be all pro probably. Okay. That's not what we're looking for here. He's going to give you solid production, and he's going to play the defense Zimmer likes to play it because of all of the time he spent playing under Zimmer. Minnesota, man. I think that his value comes from what he leaves behind even after he's gone for these young guys compared to what he's going to give you on the field next year. I think he's going to be the quarterback of that defense.
Yep.
He's going to show these guys, hey, he's trying to make you better. He's not trying to make you feel this small.
Right.
He's the guy that understands who he is as a coach and how to play under him. And I just think that's just worth so much, especially at a position that often is the center point of running your entire defense from an organizational standpoint on the field. So they did make that move. And like you said, they kind of shored up some things. I mean, the starting defensive roster doesn't look – I mean, it looks pretty good right now. If everyone's healthy, everyone's rocking at 100%. Now you're starting to look at depth. You're starting to look at skill sets. You're starting to look at all the things that make your team tick and long-term moves, right? So, yeah, that's where I'm at, man.
Here's my thing.
Okay.
And this is a little bit deeper than just what they've done so far in plan. I'm not gonna go too far into Stephen Jones being at South by Southwest on day one of camp or March 11th. I'm not gonna go down all that path. Whatever, it's fine. But I am going to use what Jane Slater said, talking about, when people are calling us, we're listening and see what we can afford. It's bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry for YouTube. Sorry about that. They can afford what they want to afford. Now, if you want to change the narrative to say what we're willing to spend or what we want to budget for, that's fine. Don't tell me and give me that red herring of what we can afford, because you can afford whatever you want to. Also, it's free agency, and there's 31 other teams that are also out here in free agency. Who cares that you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're just taking calls? And you wonder why they flipped Kendricks? Because San Francisco called him. The Cowboys never called him. And then finally, towards the end of day 3, somebody in the building's like, hey, let's call Eric Kennedy and see what's going on real quick and see if he wants to come play for Zimmer. Finally, we made a call. And that's the frustrating part. Forget the damn plan and what they're thinking or how hard it's going to be. You're not calling nobody. What are we doing?
They didn't call Derrick Henry either.
Didn't call Derrick Henry. Yeah. Right. Didn't they for the first 2 days, they basically didn't call anybody outside the building. And those are the things that absolutely are frustrating. I don't care what the plan is. We understand you have a plan. But when your plan in free agency the first 2 days is not to call anybody exteriorly, like, okay, I mean, what are we doing? Right? Because here's the other side of that. Look, let's say they were hammering out. And then over the first 2 days, which these already should have been done, but let's say Lamb and Dak get done. It's a completely different narrative. It's a completely different set of circumstances of what's going on. You're literally just sitting here not doing anything. And I know that's tongue-in-cheek because we're not seeing any movements. They are doing things, for sure. You see the guys that they're bringing back, and there's certain plans. But the point is, it's very much so on record. Whoever called the first couple of days, that's what Jane Slater said, unless you want to believe Jane Slater. Well, I'm sure that's fair to say because Stephen Jones was down at South by Southwest on the first day. So his ass was on the panel speaking on the sports panel for South by Southwest. He wasn't calling nobody about free agents. And then you saw a guy who had already committed to one team. Finally, they called him and he flipped. That's the frustrating part is there's no urgency from what they're wanting to do. Whatever their plan is, there is a very big lack of urgency in what they're trying to accomplish.
So
Major, we like our guys' energy. And
yeah.
But your point stands, man. If you want it, it all comes back to Jerry Jones putting his foot in his mouth with the all-in comment, right? If you want to, you can. On the flip side, down the road with Parsons and Lamb and still being, a competitive team or a contender, maybe you're opening yourself up some extra opportunity there in the future. But if you want to, this year, right here, right now, start a free agency or whatever, absolutely they can. And they didn't. They absolutely did.
Do we need to expand upon why they, the salary cap is a myth is the best way for people to understand it. It's more a little bit slightly more nuanced than that, but it's really kind of a simple concept and the way I explain it is, and we can, if y'all think we need to expound.
Yeah, I mean,
it's real it's real in the future, right? Yeah. It exists in that realm. The way that I try to get people to
which is important.
Right now, it does not exist. Right? It's much more of an accounting principle than it is any sort of team building.
Balancing the books. It's balancing the books.
Exactly.
You're balancing.
So that's
the books.
what Nick means. If anyone's confused,
and you can move the money to players that you're going ultimately feel like, hey, we're going to get another deal done with, right? Yep. And like your Knicks, for instance, and Shepard came here. Patrick Mahomes is restructuring his contract to free up $21 million. He ain't doing nothing.
He had the front office. Nothing to do with that. That had absolutely nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes himself.
Nothing to do with it. But I know it paints a pretty picture, and people run off and talk about, oh, look, Patrick Mahomes is taking the pay cut. Restructure does not mean pay cut. What it means is they convert his salary into a bonus. He gets a big bag. They kick the can down the road a little bit. This is why years and length of contract matter more so than the overall money 9 times out of 10. Yep. And they know in a few years they're going to redo a deal with Patrick Mahomes and everything will be fine. So he doesn't lose money. He gets a bag. They get cap space, and they're going out here, and that's why they brought back Chris Jones. That's why they're probably going to end up bringing back Steve unless they get a handsome trade for him. They re-sign Tranquil. Word is they might be signing Mike Williams. But that's the reason they can do this because of the length of the contract that Mahomes signed, and they can pin whip it and do that. That's how we got under the cap. We didn't go to Zach Martin. Zach Martin didn't take a pay cut. Zach Martin didn't agree to restructure his deal. The Cowboys pin whipped it, got them under the cap, so they're good to go. And basically, he's basically on a 1-year deal, and there's an opportunity where he won't be here next year. And that's where the rubber meets the road because you gave him the new money last year. You pin whipped him. He's getting older. Now you might have to eat a little money next year, and he walks away. But that's, again, there's more than enough young players and things, because everybody says the Cowboys are so cap-strapped. You're the second youngest team in the NFL, 1. 2, you know what else you ain't done? Over the last 3 years, they've spent the least amount of money in free agency. Mm-hmm. Those are just the facts.
They also pay
12 and 5 3 years, which means they're building well, but you got to do a little bit more in free agency. Not go in, but you got to do a little bit more. And that's the frustrating part when they're not calling people and a new Gia or a new defense corner is like, hey, I'm gonna call Kiddish real quick. Cool, bet.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some
thing is they don't even pay their from what I understand, anyways. They pay their coaching staff. Their coaching staff payroll is bottom. It's like literally last in the NFL.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, I see Mark.
Right, and they don't even count against the cap.
Exactly.
The most valuable franchise in the world and the lowest paid coaching staff. Make it make sense.
Make that
balancing the books, baby. Balancing the
books. Look, man, there's a lot that goes into the salary cap stuff. I mean, last time we talked about post U1 cuts, and essentially what that does is it,
right,
kind of hit on it, but it essentially takes the dead cap and it spreads it over 2 years instead of one. That's one way you save money. These players, all they're really involved with when it comes to their contracts is when they're signing it, they're agreeing to how much money and how much guaranteed and incentives, right? That type of deal, you know, and they come in and they're like, all right, well, we're going to give you all of this X amount of money and a signing bonus. Well, boom, that's stretched out over the length of your contract. Boom, 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 right? So and that takes a lot of money.
You want to. You can backload it.
And you can put void years on there, all that good stuff. So, so it is very much, you know, getting back under the cap, things like that. A lot of people like to talk about, oh, Dak's deal's not done because they want to be able to hide behind that and a reason why they're not signing guys. And last time we were on this show, we were talking about, hey, at least I said, I was like, look, the one thing I don't want in Dak's deal, I'm confident it gets done. And the one thing I don't want is for it to linger because I didn't want this, you know, storm of throwing blame or whatever to present itself. Well, here we are. Deal's not done. I'm still very confident it gets done. I'm still very confident the Cowboys will make more moves. Will they trade? I don't know. Probably not out of this year's draft because they kind of did that from last offseason. But for next year's draft, you're looking at more opportunity, especially when you're looking at 3 comp picks, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. So you might be able to pull teams that are looking to dump contracts, pull from their rosters after the draft. You're talking about releases, things that don't count against the comp formula. Teams start cutting guys post June 1. Well, that's an opportunity to add there too. And that's the way the Cowboys historically kind of roll, man. They slow roll this thing. I get it. It's frustrating right now, but I still think that the roster can be very, very competitive next year. Like we talked about on defense, what to expect there. From my point of view, on offense, please just run a modern West Coast offense where you use a lot of motion and let Dak figure it out from there. Other than that, fill your holes and go ball, man. There's a lot. 9 All-Pros. 9 All-Pros last year. Most in the NFL by 2. Bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Let's get back to, you know, calling the game that needs to be called and let this organization continue to produce all-pro players the way that it has been in the past. That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Let's also too not just inexplicably kind of go away from the things that worked well for the offense in some of the biggest games and the biggest moments, and things might have played out a little bit differently as well, at least for one extra half of football maybe. Neither here nor there. But Ben, so this is, if there's things that really like stand out that I feel is nuanced and not like this, you can't find some of this stuff on ESPN. You just won't get it. Because they like to be very surface level, very polarizing with their topics that they select. But Ben made a fantastic point for anyone who is unfamiliar with the comp pick formula, which you should be if you're a Cowboys fan, because you know that's what this front office prides themselves on. But releases do not count against your comp pick formula. So, like, let's just say right now, based on the 3 guys, we're projected 3 comp picks from our free agent departures this year, guys from our team who signed elsewhere in free agency. If you sign another guy in free agency with, to a certain amount of money, those comp picks that you would be getting from having guys leave would start to cancel out. So you get less.
Yeah.
What Ben is saying is if you wait until players are cut, those players do not count against your cap or against your comp pick formula. Okay. So the Joneses utilize that loophole from their free agency, the way that their approach to it. That's what they prefer to do because they depend upon drafting and developing and building from within the draft and then signing their own guys, right? That's how this organization operates. But yeah, great point, Ben. Go ahead, next.
And what's crazy about that is, guess what you could have done? You could have got Aaron Jones when it counted against your comp pick. You could have traded you could have traded the conditional 7th for Joe Mixon when it counted against your comp pick. The crazy part why they didn't call Kendricks immediately was he was actually released. He doesn't count against the comp pick. Don't know why it took so long. Thank God they flipped him. But again, you could have went and got Aaron Jones for 1 year, still drafted your guy. Doesn't count against the comp pick. And I mean, he knows McCarthy's scheme. He He's played for McCarthy. I mean, just little things, But again, I understand what their plan is, and we get into the draft. Look, they're going to draft a running back probably in this round 2. It's probably what they're going to do is in round 2 take a running back. So, we'll see. Jalen Brooks special or Jonathan Brooks special on the way. Neither here nor there, but we'll see what happens there. But the comp pick stuff, that's how they roll. Yeah, I mean, again, you could have done some things in the run game, but I get it. They after it's so funny, like they spent the money. Obviously, the part of that $6.5 million that's dead, a cap against Zeke rubs them the wrong way. Obviously, they paid $10 million for Pollard last year, and it's a shift in how they want to handle business when it comes to running back, and that's fine. A decent crop of running backs are coming out in this draft this year, and you have to go all the way to the first round to take a guy. So I mean, I get that side of it. Boy, defensively, let's get a little bit more busy. Let's hope.
Yep. Yeah, I can't wait to break down these prospects, and that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to start doing this with Ben, and then also you being able to join in with us is the best of both worlds, man. So I'm really excited for that. That's probably I think next week once we get the okay from Ben here, he's working on finishing his project. That's incredibly detailed, and incredibly well structured. So he's got it going on over there. But assuming as soon as that's ready to go, you guys will know, and everybody will be much better off as a result. And I think we're probably going to try to get out of here before 9:30. So I wanted to ask, while we're still here, we have a few more minutes, and then we'll maybe get some questions from the comments.
Sure.
Are there any remaining free agents that you guys just feel like is blinking red light? This is a no-brainer for this team with, it fits the Catboy criteria as far as the contract structure. Who's out there? What moves do you expect them to make? Not a let me say this. Anybody still available in free agency, not named Tyron Smith or Stephon Gilmore?
Yeah, I mean, Hankins, right? I mean, Hankins makes a lot of sense.
Hank, too. I'm sorry, exclude Hank as well.
Hank would be another one. Exclude those. So, I mean, I think you got to look at edge, right? You've lost 2. So, defensive ends is a position you probably want to look at. A guy for me, and again, I'm just going in how the Cowboys kind of operate. They were hiring him in the draft process coming out of Tennessee. He spent some time over there with Philly. He got traded to Houston. Actually had a nice last half of the season in Houston and Derek Barnett. That's a guy for me. I think it's not going to break the bank a whole lot. He can come here and be a rotational piece for you. So a guy like that, I would like to see them add because, again, you've lost 2. You definitely got to add some depth there. Don't rule out them going after a wide receiver in free agency. I know we're waiting for now. They gave y'all the opportunity to go seek a trade, and looming Saturday they want to make a decision. I mean, we know what it is.
He's getting close.
So they could look.
That.
Yeah. So you could look to see them maybe make a move at wide receiver free agency as well. Now the bigger names have kind of moved on and kind of getting down there. And hey, maybe you get maybe that guy that played at Boise State that went down to Miami. Maybe they'll circle the block on him since he's available. Friends with Dak.
Who was it?
Wilson.
Oh, Cedric. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's
Cedric Wilson be a good depth piece.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that playing
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think they'll still dip into the draft to get somebody. But again, what they like to do, they like to cover their bases as much as possible to try to be very fluid and go do things. So Derek Barnett, there's some other guys at the end y'all can talk about that I've saw too that are there. But that's one. Hey, look, I wouldn't mind a young linebacker still to add here to be cheap. If they want to kick the can around a little bit and see what's out there. So I wouldn't be against them getting a younger guy to develop perhaps in that run. That's not going to break the bank for you. Like if you can get it for like a 3-year deal and not break the bank and have opportunity to build him if he's the right age. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Barnett would be cool to get in here. Maybe a reunite with Wilson and see maybe what they can do when it comes to linebacker one more time.
Cedric Wilson, the chat is informing us, has since signed with the Saints for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Oh, missed it. Okay, missed it.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And I didn't. Speaking of the Saints, I didn't see until just now that Willie Gay is also a New Orleans Saint.
He's 1 year. 1 year for up to $5 million. That's when I was like, oh my God, this is before we got Kendrick signed for the 1 year
value.
up to $5 million. And I was
we
like,
can have other teams signing value
up to $5 million. Yeah, I mean, come on now, up to $5 million. No, we don't want to do that. Oh my goodness! And then of course, Ken just came through. So said, Sadie Wilson's out there. Fair enough. But keep an eye on wide receiver still, nonetheless.
I think there's not a whole lot of positions outside of safety that I really couldn't see the Cowboys selecting, in any round in this year's draft. I mean, there's a couple, but not many. To your point about the wide receivers, and I think edge is another sneaky need now too. We lost Dante and Dorrance Armstrong in free agency, so
Dorrance, right?
Yeah. So there's another thing to talk about there too. A name for me that I get, where was it? I had it already circled. Well, I lost my thought process. I think actually it was Willie Gay, and then I realized, never mind. So scratch that. It was Willie Gay, then I didn't realize that he was already New Orleans Saints. So I want to address this question here from Scott. Are they planning to let Dak go after this year? I'll let one of you guys.
Period. Next question.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
They both keep saying they want to get the job. They want to get the deal done. I still think that's where they are. But I mean, until it's a paper, I will say this. I mean, look, Steven said today they've had conversations. That Dak, they didn't say the agent, so they've had plenty of conversations with Dak, and we just kind of wait and see where that goes.
Yeah, Sunshine. They do have Martavis Bryant on the practice squad, and that is a guy to keep an eye on.
Yep.
He has been a monster. Now, will he be a contributor? That is the question, right? So, something to keep on there.
Yeah.
Ready for Cowboys Nation to hate me for this one. To answer your question, Lando, I like our guys. I think we're good. I think we get ready to go draft and post June 1 or thereafter, if something comes along trade wise, or something's just really sticking out at you, then let it ride till then. I think what they're doing now, since they didn't go all in these first couple of days, I think the best move is to move forward with the plan we've already kind of discussed. I just do.
Next.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, you keep repeating the same things, you're going to get the same results. Be relevant.
I'm not expecting
get to the playoffs.
Another thing we've talked about in other platforms is my expectations are much higher for something like 2025 and onward anyway. So, competitive, maybe even win a playoff game this year. Cool. But, everyone on 1-year deals, new system on defense. My expectations are not Super Bowl this year. So I think you build your roster accordingly.
I just think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Eric Kendricks, Damone Clark, and then a rookie, and then Carl Davis and Mozzie Smith and a rookie at D tackle that'll likely be a day 3 guy at that position. I don't think you can stop the run with that.
I mean, like I said, I think they're going to continue to sign guys. I think they're just going to wait until later in the offseason to do it. I think they're going to draft and then handle more business before training camp goes.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm just kind of thinking out loud as
just
far as
the players.
I get it. It's not the all in to the middle of the table, let's go get a Super Bowl approach that fans were hoping for after getting completely embarrassed by the Green Bay Packers and a good coach who copied Buffalo and copied Arizona's game plans to absolutely put us in the dirt in the playoffs. Yep. I get it. That's the first big thing. Then Jerry Jones goes to the Senior Bowl and goes, and we're gonna go all in, whatever. No, we're not, dude. And it wasn't really your call to begin with. Sorry.
But it's also true.
Let's just call a spade here, and let's be realistic about what this team has to do with the team moving forward. Last year was the year to really make some noise. I think you regroup and you're competitive this year. I'm not saying we're going to be terrible. I think, like I said, you could maybe win a playoff game, whatever, but all in Super Bowl push, I'm sorry. I don't see it, man. And I love this team. I love this team, but I don't see that.
Right. I mean, again, and as I said before, man, it was about all in, which is being competent. Just run like a competent team and understand where you are and do things right, and when it comes to that. But, I mean, I said it for those that follow me. I said it whenever they were making the decision on McCarthy, right? And I said, hey, look, I don't care which way you go. And everybody knows I'm a McCarthy guy. I said, I don't care. I was like, what happened in Lando? We were live in the second half of that game on the Pro Sports Fan app.
Yep.
And right then and there, I looked you in the face and our guy Chris as well. And I said, this is a fireable offense.
Yeah, I remember that. I was there.
Yeah, you were there. You were there too. It was a fireable offense. And I said, look, I don't care which way they're going to go, but you either have to extend him or you have to fire him. And I think ultimately when you go directly to that lane and making that choice, but it really wasn't a decision. You basically said, just coach it out. You didn't really make a hard stance organizational decision. No. You're just going to coach it out. And you know what you've seen since then? A lack of non-decisions. Everything. And that was my biggest thing. I said, this is going to transcend how things move forward. And if you look at them saying, no, coach, that's your last year, you see how this organization has moved forward since that point. And it goes right back to there. That's the epicenter of what the 24 season was going to be. And that's how it's unfolded so far. Now, things can change in a drop of a dime, right? It can change. But right now, what we're seeing thus far is that decision of, hey, you're going to be here in your last year and coach for your job. And they've operated hey, man, we're going to be here next year. We got over $90 million. It's going to be free the following year, and we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Just to be clear, in case we haven't been already, extending Dak Prescott saves you actually, contrary to popular belief, saves you a lot of money. Extending CeeDee Lamb saves you a lot of money. Extending Micah Parsons, you could do that too if you wanted to. That saves you a lot.
Raise their cap hit now. It's going to raise the cap, but long term, the sooner you get them done, the better. I think CD and Dak are both done around training camp or before, hopefully before. But I think we see those two this year. I think we see Micah next year, and then we go dance.
Simple.
That's where I'm at, man. I have nothing, no other noteworthy items or anything on the list here to cover. Is there anything from the chat that we hadn't gotten to, or anything pressing that you guys
any questions
we didn't address that we should?
You let me know. Some questions, man.
Yeah.
You like 0 running backs? Okay, ratio. That's fair. No, they're going to sign a running back. I do believe they're going to sign a running back. I don't think it's going to be right now.
Right.
It might be. They might pick one.
Guys, you have work done in Mike Allstott. What's the problem? They're just named Deuce Vaughn and don't worry about it.
Here's a trivia question. Here. Who is the running back in the draft that broke one of Warrick Dunn's collegiate rushing records?
I'll give
you a hint.
What category of rushing though?
I think it was a single game rushing record. But here's the hint: same school. If you don't know his school,
we'll say Trey Benson, no?
Oh, there it is, Trey Benson. But yeah, we got work done on the roster, so that's
we got work done at home. Yeah, we got work done at home, and we got Mike.
I don't see that one, man.
We good.
I don't. And we had this talk just yesterday, Nix. Did we not, about Deuce Vaughn and his future?
Yeah, right.
I wrote him off.
Be intriguing.
He's not. I don't see a future for him. Nix is not ready to throw in the towel on Deuce Vaughn.
No, not I like Deuce Vaughn.
I like Deuce Vaughn, but I don't see.
Yeah. I mean, that's like throwing in the towel on. I just, for me, when it comes to a draftee, it takes more than 1 year. I got to see it more than 1 year, because if that's the case, we would have thrown Tolbert out. And I think you're starting to see things with Tolbert in year 2 where it got to. I mean, year 1, basically, he lined up off sides. That's all he gave you. So I think due diligence has to be played when it comes to these draft picks at times. Yep. You got to carve out the role and do things, because if that's the case, I'd be ready to punt Schoonmaker to the moon. That's neither here nor there.
That's fair. And look, to kind of back your point instead of my point, I kind of explained why I think Deuce Vaughn isn't in his best situation last night when we were talking about this.
For sure.
But Deuce Vaughn's at his best when you can get him out in a little bit of space and let him do his one-cut magic and go.
Yep.
Now, outside zones, that type of thing, the things that we were wanting to see the Cowboys do last year that they couldn't do last year because of subpar run blocking from the center, the right tackle, and the tight ends, the Schoonmakers you just discussed. that wasn't there. And when you're running outside zone, particularly your right tackle and your tight ends, if they're not getting the job done consistently, that's an issue. Getting to the second level, your point of attack, all those things, it's not working the way it's supposed to work. That's the stuff that helps Deuce Vaughn be a great running back.
Yeah.
Right.
All the other stuff that you ask these running backs to do, that's not Deuce Vaughn's game. So if you can fix that, hey man, I hear you. And everyone's saying Blake Corum is a gap heavy scheme running back. That's not what the Cowboys do. But hey,
I was going to tell Ratio real quick. Ratio, don't worry. We're going to trade back in the first round, like 28, 29. Just say trade Benson in round 1. Get ready. Book it. It's such the Cowboy thing.
I'd rather them take Jalen Wright. I got Jalen Wright as RB1. I did release. I hit 1K on Twitter. Thank you for all the support and the follows and everything as we get this thing rolling. Less than a year into being involved on social medias, coming out of the shadows a little bit. So as a little thing, I went ahead and I put out the running backs portion of my big overall draft report. You can catch that on my Twitter at @Laramore_Ben. But Jalen Wright is my guy as RB1, followed by Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks.
Wow. Okay. That's spicy, and I like this. Round projection on Jalen for you.
Second.
2?
Second round grade and second round projection. I got second round grades on both Benson and Brooks as well, but I got third round projections due to injury histories and such.
So for Wright, you say he's your RB1 overall. Is that doesn't factor into Cowboys specific, right? Would he be also number 1?
My draft report is a general overview of the scouting. Now, my work that I do with Cowboys Wire of USA Today, that is Cowboys specific, and I will be writing about things that are Cowboys specific. And I'll be on here talking with you and whoever else wants to talk draft once this thing is all finalized and wrapped up with a bow on it all day, every day, because I live for this stuff, man. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Do we have any other questions before we wrap it up? Or
what else you guys have? There's still, we got 22 people hanging out with us.
Scott said if they get wiped out at offensive tackle, trade down or grab a D end that fell. And I'm guessing that's particularly round 1, pick 24. What do you think, guys?
If I was forced to pick between offense and defense, tackle or defensive end, if there's a defensive end that
if you got wiped out at offensive tackle, would you trade down or grab a D end at 24? Basically,
I'd trade down.
Yeah,
I trade down unless there was just like an insane drop on talent. Absolutely, because you're recouping your middle round draft capital at that point, and that is more valuable than.
Yeah, and that's like a guy at 24. Unless a guy like Verse or Lotsu fell to us, and a tackle was wiped. Yeah, I'm with you. It's trade down. It's trade down season for sure.
I could see us taking. I love trading back. Obviously, it takes 2 to tango. It's difficult to accomplish, right? But
how far back do you go? Because there's not many spots between you and second round.
Yeah, and sitting at 24, it's a little bit easier than it was a year ago at 26 after winning a playoff game. There might be the reason it's hard to trade back if you're that low in the draft is because most teams any given year, and Ben can validate this too, but every NFL organization is going to have anywhere between 11 and 17 true first round grades. So the chances of one of those guys falling to in your lap to getting to a spot to where somebody else would still be willing to trade up to go and get, the further back you are, the less likely that becomes. So that's kind of why it's difficult. But yes, I would if a situation like that happened and trade back was a possibility, I'm all for it, especially for this team. You need more. You got holes to fill, so you need more.
To do it. Big move here. Big move. The Bears just landed Keenan Allen from the Chargers for a 4th round pick.
For 4th?
Wow.
Yep.
They just unloaded a heck of a contract, man. He was one of those guys that were like top 10 in cap hit. They had like 4 guys in the top 10 or top 12 of cap hits this year, and Keenan Allen was one of them. So probably good cap space move by them. The Bears, so somebody
I can't wait to see
that's going to be quarterbacking for the Bears just landed themselves a pretty good route running wide receiver.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a stud, man. He's that's a quarterback's best friend type receiver right there. Oh man, that's crazy. Okay. Anything else happening that since we've been live?
I didn't see any other. Yeah, I'm looking right now. I mean, obviously we know Pat. Pat White. I was gonna say Pat White ended up in Philly for 1 year, 7.5, right?
I did not.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Not
Devin White.
Devin White, not Pat. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the damn West Virginia quarterback.
Ratio asked if we don't get Benson, which again for me it's Jalen Wright as my RB1. But if we don't get Benson, who's Ben's number 2 Cowboys specific running back? That's a good question. Cowboys specific. I almost say wait to the middle rounds, but I'm going to go Jonathan Brooks for the overall talent standpoint of it because he still operated within a balanced running attack system. So I got to give it to Jonathan Brooks there if you're taking Wright and Benson away from me. Past that, I'm looking at Kamani Vidal, Will Shipley, which is Knicks' guy. And then you're getting into your Ray Davis's, Bucky Irving's, Dylan Johnson's of the world.
How much you can, I know you don't want to give away too much. How much did Audric Estime's 40 time sway your overall?
Terribly.
Yeah.
Absolutely terribly. I moved him, instead of bumping him around, I moved him back around. I had a 4th round grade on him. I had him in the 3rd round, but I was concerned. I was concerned about his look. He plays light on his feet. He'll jump over you standing up if he has to.
He was still explosive, right?
But he doesn't. Not necessarily though. Like people say, I don't see that on tape. I did. I didn't see the speed. Like I see him just getting caught, man. Like I just see him getting caught in the NFL. Like I just do. And then when he ran a 4.71. I was like, yeah, that confirmed my fear. And it scared me enough to bump him back. People that don't want to do that, I respect it. It did me. Period. 4.71's bad for a running back.
That's very slow. Yeah, I remember it was a massive deal a few years back. Little Jordan Humphrey had like a 1,200-yard receiving season at Texas. He ran a 4.79. And his draft stock plummeted. A lot of people had him penciled in as like a day 2 guy. He ended up going undrafted. If I remember,
Odermeyer, I think that's how you say it, at Texas A&M too. A couple of draft classes ago, tight end, making plays, natural, instinctive guy, ran over a 5-second 40.
That's crazy. Yeah,
just completely blacklisted.
Bang. You know? Yeah, man. It's crazy how how much influence that can have for somebody, and it's a lot different too. These numbers keep getting better and better, and you're seeing on average just the percentage of sub 4.4 40 times just for the 40-yard dash specifically just continues to increase, and that's because it's become it's its own event now. Like guys train 6 to 8 weeks for it in preparation. They're doing all these combine specific drills and mastering them. So it's like 6 to 8 weeks of training camp for the combine that didn't used to happen in years past. And so it's just like we're going to continue seeing more and more freaky numbers and stuff, and Ben's going to continue having more and more ammunition to talk about and to cover for you, bro. But
the draft report is probably a little bit too much in depth on some things, so definitely
that's what set you apart, man. You gotta keep on keeping on. Like I said,
Ray Davis, for example, it's just off the top of my head. I was thinking of a cool fun fact in running backs. Ray Davis was a foster child, and he spends a lot of his time visiting foster kids.
That's cool.
And trying to be an impact guy in that realm. He's happy with his family that adopted him, things like that. But at least from what I read, but that's something that he enjoys doing. So there's a fun fact for you about Ray Davis.
Good stuff. And I've been meaning to get back to Asher. He asked a couple different times. If you're still in here, Asher, he was asking about any news on Michael Gallup. And we did touch on that a little bit earlier, but just to kind of give one more brief overview, he's been, granted permission to seek a trade a few days ago. He's obviously still under contract, but I don't anticipate him getting traded. I do expect him, just being labeled as a post-June 1 cut. And so that'll end up saving the Cowboys roughly $8 million this year. And we'll see what they do with that, if anything. So,
but before we get out of here, I do want to say, and obviously this matters to the draft here a little bit. Mm-hmm. The draft changed a little bit with the Keenan Allen trade because remember they released Mike Williams already.
Yep.
Right. And obviously they drafted the young kid from TCU last year, but now Keenan Allen's gone via trade. Right. Keenan Allen's gone. Mike Williams is gone. They're picking at number 5. Boy, wide receiver starts to blink there at number 5 now for the Chargers and starts changing some things. So a little bit of shift of the draft here late on,
not to mention, everyone's been mocking Joe Alt to the Chargers, but
Right.
Got an opportunity to watch him move from the right side of his line, from the right side of the line at the combine, and he was awkward and not natural at all, and just clunky. It just looked bad. So I don't. You wanna take the best overall tackle in the draft and switch him over to that side and run that risk. Be my guest at 5, but I don't know that they're gonna do that. If I were them, I'd trade back. I'd take one of those wide receivers or a right tackle.
See, this is I live for these types of conversations right here. Unfortunately, people in the chat right now, they're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. I think maybe next week we can start to dabble in it. But I'm getting antsy over here just even thinking about it, man. All these different.
I know. I'm like, I said too much already.
Yeah, dude. I know. I'm fired up, man. So we got a lot of exciting things planned and coming, and we're just gonna, like Nick says, behind the scenes, y'all. We're just gonna ride the wave and see where this thing goes. But yeah, you won't. You'd be hard pressed to find guys who really just take pride in doing a lot of extra work to bring and convey the most accurate information in the most creative way possible. So we're onward and upward.
That's double for you, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Shout out to you, brother. Thanks for having us on always. And as the star turns, hopefully this is hopefully Nix doesn't take it back. Hopefully he's like, you know what, I want to keep that one in the back pocket.
I'm a man of the people. I'm a man of the people. The people, if they what they want, we gotta give it to them.
Give them a fact snap or something for it.
It's a fun dynamic, man. I really am excited for what's to come, and we'll continue to get more organized. Like I said, this is only the second time now. This is our second time together. And it's really the second time ever that the Lando Show has been live on YouTube with an actual purpose, right? And something like so. We're, like I said, onward and upward. We're climbing this ladder, man, and I'm still getting acclimated to the having 2 babies under 2, so that the dad life is in full effect, and it's crazy. It's high octane, but man, I'm actually we're getting into a good routine here, and I'm figuring out how to streamline my entire process to make it more efficient. That way, I can do more stuff like this. And make it, regimented and structured. So
I'll be behind you on that front, but I won't be too dang far.
There you go. Yep, there you go. All right, y'all. Same time, right here. Every Thursday, 8 to 10. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for being here.
I mean,
thanks, y'all.
Yeah.